population doesn't have to go too far for any of those things. Obviously, they need food and water, but they also need space to rest, to reproduce, so on and so forth. Let me show you in graphic form what the carrying capacity of a habitat is. In other words, carrying capacity is defined as how many elk a given geographical space can carry throughout the year. So, this is the number of elk. And this, on the x-axis, is actually time. Starting with winter, spring, and you know the rest, right? Summer, fall, and back to winter. Carrying capacity for a geographical area is how much food, space, and water in the arrangement thereof an elk population can have in the winter. And it's usually like this. Okay? Now what happens in the spring, about 3 weeks from now, up in the mountains? Babies. Anybody have any idea how many days or weeks or months it takes for the pregnant cow elk to drop their young?
10 months.
10 months? Any other ideas? 7 or 8 months, weeks, days?
Months.
Months. In other words, unlike humans, there is a mating schedule for elk.
November, December, January, February, March.
No, not how long it takes them to be pregnant, but how long they actually drop elk on the ground, so to speak. Deliver it, if you will.
Quickly.
Well, not just
10 months probably is not good.
That's a long delivery.
But in the spring, in the verdant spring, plenty of lush, green, moist foliage for the young babies to eat. Usually in the spring, and up here in Colorado in the month of May, the population of the elk, which has maintained like around there, slowly decrease, all of a sudden spikes up. This amount of time, slightly under 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, all the elk that are going to be born in that year are on the ground. What happens after that? There is 1 minute in time per year where the births succeed deaths. After that, the deaths succeed births. Why? Because births go down to 0. So any amount of movement in the population is going to cause a decrease. So it doesn't slightly fall off, it starts going down.
Better when it's better.
I think we use the better one. So this is the month of May here in Colorado. There is one point in time where the births exceed deaths. E exceeds deaths. Every other minute, deaths exceeds birth, because this goes to 0. Okay? So it comes down, and down, and down, and down. Now, can you tell me what's going on here? What causes elk to die?
Age.
Hunters.
Age.
Damn straight.
Age.
Age. What else?
Fighting among the troops.
Finding among the
Cougar.
What happens in the fall?
Cougars.
Cougars. Predators.
Wolves.
What kind of predators do we have in Colorado? Mountain lions, cougars. Biggest predators, however, are, well,
Humans.
they have them out in the backyard right now. Coyotes.
Really?
The reason why the elk do this all in a compressed time, rather than throughout the year like, say, we do, is that the predators are busy, but there's only so many elk they can eat, so many babies they can eat. In other words, the births exceed the predation rate for those 2 weeks. They simply can't eat that many more. Okay? You're overwhelming the predators. So, after this glorious time, when we have all sorts of baby elk out there, predation, age, starvation, not really in the spring and summer, but later over here,
Disease.
disease, accidents. If there's an injury to a jaw, they can't eat, they can't drink, they have a pretty miserable death. Where do hunters come in? Usually over here in the fall, okay? It goes down. If you didn't have hunters, what would happen is this keeps going and actually gets below, for a number of years, it gets below the carrying capacity. Because it's not like the elk take a lottery of who gets to eat in the winter and who doesn't. The whole herd eats poorly if there are too many elk for the habitat, for the carrying capacity. Yes, the weak and the old go first, and the young. But then, starting with the healthy adults, they too have malnutrition. Okay? So hunters are over here in the fall, one more piece of the puzzle of getting the numbers down, because the numbers will go down. They're up here, but the carrying capacity in the winter is only here. Death has to occur. Okay. Any questions about carrying capacity? Hunting, what the role of hunters is. Yes?
I have one question about when you have the weak and the old and the helpless and so forth that are dying. Hunters, though, are seeking best, right, the strongest and the biggest. And does that have an impact on the reproduction of, are you losing too many of those prime animals from hunting? That makes sense.
It does. No, because these days, 20th century, 21st century for that matter, wildlife management, which is a science that around the age of Teddy Roosevelt began around 1910. Back in the good old days, in the 1800s, populations were decimated across the board. Not only buffalo, but deer, elk, turkey, a whole lot of other species, before wildlife management came into being. Now that we know how to do wildlife management, they limit it. In other words, just on April 3rd, me, or I, and several tens of thousands of other people in Colorado put in for the drawing for certain cow elk licenses. Hopefully I'll get one cow elk. How do they do that? They separate the whole state into game management units. They know all about populations, and if the population of the elk is too high for the habitat in the game management unit, they let out a whole lot of cow elk. If they don't have that problem, nobody gets a cow elk. You might be able to go hunt a bull elk, but not a cow elk. So in a way, the wildlife managers for the Division of Wildlife in Colorado regulate every game management unit, every square mile in Colorado, and give out licenses accordingly. Because if hunters don't do this, something else will. This is not negotiable. The only way to get this number higher is to improve the habitat. And as an example, one of the reasons I'm a member of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, as an example, that's an organization that improves habitat. So this can widen. But winter will happen no matter what. So if the habitat isn't improved, if this line is stuck here for a number of years, this decline will happen. And wildlife management is the science of doing this appropriately, so not too many are taken, but not too few either, because there will be deaths occurring one way or another. And I see the red light is on.